Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 9th meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review one continued application this evening and 8 new applications and one item under other business after all the other applications. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To have an opportunity to speak, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth, may need to turn off video at times, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. I will call on commissioners for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject, then ask for a second, and then we'll conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. The voting members for this evening will be Melinda Shumway, Walter Clay, Bill Hewitt, Louis Caldarella, and myself. And I will now do a roll call. Louis?
Here.
Great. Bill?
Here.
Walter?
Here.
Melinda?
Here.
And myself here. Okay, great. So we're all here. So let's start with our first item, which is the continued application for 404 Monument Street.
And Kate, I think Kristen Dahlman is here too.
Oh, Kristen.
She just arrived, yes.
Oh, okay. She just arrived. And I know she's just in for a bit. Oh, hey, Kristen. She's just in for a bit. I think you're muted right now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I need to leave a little bit after 8 because we're
Okay.
celebrating my dad. He's been living with us since April. He had a stroke and he's ready to go home.
Oh my goodness, that's
Yeah.
tremendous.
So we're celebrating him tonight.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in and paying attention and all that stuff. So, okay. Tracy, hi. I see you there.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Are you going to be doing the presenting?
I guess I am, although I feel like I've presented out and that you have all the information that you need except for some sort of photoshopped picture of our driveway. But I'm hoping that your visit this morning, thank you all for your time, will help with that. With that lack. I didn't realize that I was supposed to find someone to do some photoshopping for us so that you could further imagine the proposal. That it sounded to me like the commission was coming around to thinking that 2 running pathways for tires could go down the driveway for the length of our house. And that if they looked like bricks but weren't red, that was acceptable or might be acceptable. There was some conversation that needed to happen. And I think that the commission came to sort of an impasse last time and needed more time to discuss. So I want to kind of turn it back over to you all to see what's acceptable. If you've had a chance to see the samples that I dropped off in the office or had a chance to see them this morning. There were 3 choices for the quote unquote bricks. Thank you very much, Anne. I love the way you pop in like that. There's one that's sort of the color of pea stone, which would go with the pea stones that these will lead to. There's one that's just flat, sort of blue-gray, that looks more like the color of crushed stone, maybe bluestone. I'm not sure. I don't know my stone technology very well. And then there's a pale gray one. They are brick sized. They allow the water to penetrate between them, if not into them. I'm not sure if that they're permeable themselves, but they afford the advantage of not being asphalt, but giving us some permanence in the pathway for our cars to get into the back part of the driveway. I think the part that's hard for people to imagine is around the corner of the driveway, which can't be seen from the street. We would like to have a course of 3 or 4 of these bricks just outlining the space between our house and our garage, which is all pea stone, just in order to contain the pea stones. So you would see from the street, you wouldn't really see very much of that. I think the main issue is just along the side of the house, going toward the garage. Can we put these grayish bricks, one variety or another, in there? Would that be all right with you?
I think some of the, thank you, questions would be for the commissioners who weren't here at the last meeting, and then also the ones who were, because you may have changed your mind. We can't read your mind, so there's no over presenting here. It's not for us to design,
Okay.
present. But I think that initially, for instance, I believe you applied for an apron as
Right.
well. And
Right.
so that has been removed.
Right.
I was at the site visit this morning with Lewis and with Walter and Ann. And I meant to ask you then, right now you basically have an asphalt apron, as many do. Will that stay?
Right.
So-
Yes, that can stay. Yes, I
And-
think that's probably the logical answer. I think the apron was more to try to be more suitable, but at the time we didn't know that the HTC doesn't like that sort of apron. So
Right, yeah.
that's fine. That wasn't, I was always a little on the fence about that anyway.
Mhm,
I don't know, it has some sort of statusy thing associated with it that we're not interested in furthering.
mhm. And the one term for the kind of driveway that we are talking about that was discussed at the last meeting is a ribbon driveway. That's
Huh.
apparently. So that's and we don't see many of them in the district or even in Concord, but Lewis and I came up with a couple of ideas. I think Ann knew where one was, but one good thing about them is they're very good for drainage, obviously, because they are kind of a driveway that has the least amount of impervious surface. And so
Right.
that's a good thing, both for HDC, for you, and then the town of Concord, which I guess, as we were discussing this morning, has voted at the last town meeting to get more serious about runoff from driveways. So I think Ann spoke with you about having a visual, not having a visual, which you've addressed. And so we'll need to, I think, sketch out that we're looking at a ribbon driveway. You'll keep the asphalt apron. You're looking to put in a ribbon driveway with one of these potential bricks. They'll be about 18 inches wide each track we're not maybe 18 inches between the two. We're not sure entirely yet.
I think that was the measurement that worked in the last meeting. That was the 18, 18, 18. Yeah.
And the bricks would run in what's called a running bond, sort of a staggered vertical.
Yeah.
All right, this was all discussed at the last meeting. And then it will run to basically where your kind of parking area is.
Right.
And that's basically where we lose sight of it from the street anyway. That's where you have the pea gravel and whatever
Right.
else you do to corral it. So So I'm just mentioning that all as a review for the commissioners, and do we have any, can we pull up a picture from before, at least of the house for the commissioners who haven't been here before?
Yes, just one second.
Well, who haven't been here for this issue, they've all been here before.
Okay, can you see this?
Yep, I can.
Okay.
So is it helpful for me to say something here that the ribbon, as it is now, that's pea stone, which
Mhm.
we're trying to get rid of. Our impetus for all of this is that the pea stone is just, it just goes everywhere. And our plow guy can't help but plow it all up into our gardens, which are in the back. So we just want something, at this point, almost anything that will allow us to not have to plow, put all of the pea stones in the backyard. And the bricks would go where you can see pea stone now with grass in between, and we would maintain the grass in between.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the apron would remain as it is.
And I believe the issue at the last meeting 3 weeks ago, about brick is that, and I think neither you nor some of the commissioners wanted to introduce that color necessarily.
Right, a brick color.
A
Yes,
brick color to, this kind of just more muted appearance. And
correct.
which led you to finding the concrete brick samples that you had at the office that I've seen, and I know some of the other commissioners have seen. So I think one of the things that we touched on briefly last, and what some of the commissioners this evening may have questions about, is in our guidelines under parking and paving on page 51, there is a case for not using things made to look like something else. So concrete made to look like brick, or concrete made to look like stone. We do, and that shows up a lot in our guidelines, in terms of with wood, with any number of things, we try to use the actual material.
Would you like the exact quote, Kate, since I have it in front of me?
I have it in front of me too, so no, I don't, you may read it if you'd like.
No, that's fine. I defer.
It's okay, just to keep it moving, but we do have, they are guidelines, and we do operate under discretion, and from time to time, we do veer from them. In the case of, in the past year, there was a deck or patio that was made with Trex, which is a synthetic wood, just because the issue of that wood kept rotting. And so it does happen from time to time. Other things in the other points made in the parking and paving section actually are addressed by this proposal, in that paving should be used sparingly, which would happen if you went with the ribbon driveway. And the history of a lot of driveways were two parallel tracks, which would still be retained here. You're not looking to enlarge the driveway, which is a good thing. And then, even the definition of, concrete or asphalt pavers, which are made to simulate brick or stone, these actually are brick dimensions and brick volume, and they are not like veneers, which is usually the real bugaboo. So I just offer that information to the commissioners, and then turn it over to the rest of the commission for questions.
I have one overriding question, which is, Tracy, have you spoken to your contractor about installing ribbon this way as running bond?
You're muted.
Okay. Could you say that again?
Have you spoken to a contractor about installing running bond ribbon?
Yes, the same contractor who came to the last two meetings.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
And that's fine, that
Okay,
he's ready to go. He's just hoping and waiting.
sure. Have you spoken to whoever does your snow plowing?
No, we have had several people do our snow
Mhm.
plowing, and the guy that we used last year is not someone we would use again. So, so
Okay.
no, we're between
Good.
snow plowers.
But I just had those were just two questions that I had.
Yep. Thank you.
Bill?
Apologies for not being able to make the site visit. I find the pea-colored brick appropriate. It matches the, if you will, wagon track look of the pea stone with the grass in the middle. You'll forgo, at least for a while, the added effect of the grass growing in the middle of the ribbon, but it'll eventually grow between the bricks. And so I think it for all the reasons that Kate described, it seems appropriate. I guess my only question, I couldn't discern in the photo of those bricks whether they are beveled at the edges. Because obviously
They
classic
are.
clay bricks are not. And
They're
my only concern, the reason I ask the question is when they bevel it, it unfortunately creates shadows that really amplify the joints, as opposed to pure brick, which is, it's a square edge, and therefore you don't have kind of a half-inch or inch-long shadow.
right. I think that there will be gravel in between them, and I think the beveling only makes it so that it has a sort of softer, rounder effect than the
Yeah.
flat concrete pavers.
I mean, if it's not a huge bevel, I don't think it'll be an issue, but if it's a
It's not a
really
steep one.
pronounced bevel, then you end up with a thing that looks like a grid.
Right.
I
Well,
looked at them
we don't want a
today.
grid. Could you get one of them?
I looked at them today and it's like a slight bullnose. It's not,
Then that's fine. I wouldn't be concerned. Thank you very much.
That's a good question though, Bill, because that would indicate, it would, if the bevel is kind of more visible, it, makes it underscores that is not actually, original brick, real brick. But Tracy, do they exist without the bevel?
I
You know?
believe they do. I think they're on the porch. Could you go? Just bring a handful of them. Thank you. My husband's going to get them. I think they do exist without the bevel, but that they look more like concrete pavers.
Concrete brick, interesting.
Without it, there's just a slight rounding that, I don't know, it just makes them look more natural. But my husband's gone to get some of them off the porch, so I'll hold them up for you.
If
Okay.
it's a gentle one, as you describe, I would not have a concern about that. Thank you.
what color are we looking at?
There are three colors. One of them
Right.
is a blue stone.
Proposed as the color of choice.
Sorry, say that again.
Is there one that's proposed as the color of choice?
Yes, it's coming.
It's the pea stone color, I believe. I think both.
And
lighter
Tracy and Joe, yeah, like that
my
one.
husband brought not the color of choice.
What do you-
Could you get the one that's a little more mottled with some paler in it? This is the bevel. Can you see it?
It's quite
It's-
small, actually.
It's very shallow. Yeah, yeah. And the three choices are this paler stone. This is the one without a bevel, but it's the same color as the other choices, the same color. It's more of a blue stone. And the ones that have no bevel fit together, so they're more like pavers than they are like bricks. So we didn't really introduce these into the conversation because it sounded like you really wanted things that look like bricks. This is the one that looks most like the pea stone. This is the one that I think we're leaning toward, and it sounds like you might be also. It's got a little bit of not quite yellow, but pea stone color in it. Especially right up here. I don't know if you can see it in this light.
It doesn't show up so much on the Zoom, but in person, I would say it's a little tanner. It's a little.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
It has like beige tones and soft grays and
Mhm.
yeah. Yep.
Anyone, any other questions, Louis?
Well, I think in general, it's a little bit of a sticking point is when it's so specifically stated in the guidelines that, quote, concrete or asphalt pavers, which are made to simulate brick or stone, are generally considered to be inappropriate within the historic district. That's tricky to kind of approve something that's specifically stated to be inappropriate in the guidelines. But if you're telling me as a commissioner that we sometimes vote for synthetic materials that mimic real materials and that it's sometimes appropriate, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? It's more
It's
of a
rare.
procedural kind of thing too, you know.
It's rare. It's in, you know, kind of when it's a discrete application, which, you know, and you know, it's kind of something that I discussed with Dennis, who's not here tonight, you know, about times we have done it. And it's not something we tend to like to do, you know, but the other options are, you know, don't necessarily work for the property or for the homeowner. And so sometimes you get sort of backed into these situations. Other comment? Oh, Bill?
Well, I'm-
I'll let Walter go.
I have a few things to say. One is, yes, we're being asked to approve a generally frowned upon material. I think if the instance of the Trex is being used as an example, that's because any wood in the particular situation was rotting, right? It wasn't that there was inherently anything that was equal or good aesthetically about Trex. It was the material of choice for that application. And here, you know, we're being asked to approve, you know, an imitation stone, which goes against our guidelines, and not necessarily because it's the only material that could be used in the situation, you know, or in the driveway. I'm concerned that we're being asked to help formulate a plan. You know, we assume it's 18 inches across. It's probably going to look like this. You know, there's going to be a border someplace. You know, we don't have details. I know, Tracy, it's been several times that we've been talking about this, but we don't have a hard proposal to pass judgment on, in my opinion.
Well, I started with a hard proposal, and every aspect of it was shot down. So then I moved to a position of working with you guys to help us do.
But that's really not our function. I think we're internally reminding ourselves of that constantly. We're not a design reference board. You know, we're hopefully making the decision for what we consider to be the best choice for the district, which brings me, I guess, to my last bit, which is especially being there this morning looking at the surrounding properties and surrounding driveways. This driveway would be quite a bit different than any of the surrounding driveways that I've seen there. And in terms of preserving the appearance, which is what this is all about, I think, of aesthetics of the historic district, it's really an odd one out. I know we approved solar panels just recently, but you know, that's kind of an odd one out, and that was okay. But I don't see from what I can fabricate in my mind what that will look like, having, you know, the gray ribbons there. I can't personally justify that as being the proper aesthetic decision to make for that driveway in that neighborhood and across from the property that it's facing. So,
Well, Walter, I would
Yeah.
add though that you know, I looked at a lot of the driveways in the area too, and maybe 80% of them, 90% are asphalt.
Mhm.
So anything I think that Tracy and Joe choose is going to be different. I mean, they could do red brick, they could do fieldstone. it's still going to look different from the neighbors because all the neighbors are asphalt. Almost all except for two in the immediate
Right, but isn't that the fundamental decision to make about preserving the coherence of the
So, yeah, I go for asphalt, which the town is now, which the town is now
personally,
discouraging and charging a fee for. So actually,
Mhm.
even a year or two ago, we might have said like, well, you can do asphalt if you want, but that at least as of April, in the town is not an option at all.
the
So
other
I'm
thing
saying
I would,
anything is
yeah.
going to be,
yeah, I understand what you're saying. The other thing that I would say about this is that we're being asked to set precedent this evening again with 5 commissioners for something that we don't fully understand in
Mhm.
terms of its potential impact.
Mhm.
I think it's premature to make that decision, frankly.
Mm.
And I'm not sure that the 5 of us sitting here, this evening are the ones to do that. That's a corollary to all this, but
Mhm.
it's another aspect of it. So I guess I would sum up my position as saying that I am not ready personally to go for this. So there, I'll let anybody else.
No, thank you. Because of design, because of choices, just to help the homeowners kind of understand.
No, it's great to be able to not have to go to the trouble of redoing a plan every time. I understand that. But I don't think, especially since we haven't been the same central core of people looking at all this, that just, to say, that you, Tracy, are working with us and we're developing, the plan. How many of us as commissioners were there this morning? How many of us were there at the last meeting or the meeting before that? There's not a consistency in our composition. So I don't like the material. I think it's a bad precedent to set. Doesn't mean that it can't be, with consideration, thought, and discussion, the material that ends up being the best choice, not just for your situation, but perhaps for others as well. But it's certainly twisting around the guidelines as we are trying to follow them currently. So that's it in terms of material. And in terms of layout, it would be one of the very few ribbon driveways around. I think visually it's quite a bit different than everything else there. And to my eye, looking at the property, I see that there are then, solar panels, and I have solar panels, all 4 of them. But taking that property and saying, you can sort of see the solar panels, but that's okay. And then you can sort of see that these are not, a real material for the pavers. And I understand the danger of saying that when asphalt isn't necessarily a real material either. But it's just one more aesthetic visual component there that's out of the norm, on that property across the street from
The Minuteman, yeah.
Yeah.
No, good, thank you. I get it.
That's-
Sorry, Bill, did you raise your
that's
hand
part of
earlier?
it. So
Oh.
I'm just saying, so I would, as painful as it would be to continue, I understand that there's a speed of coming to decisions here. I don't think that the application as it's presented is thorough enough to give all of us, disparate as we are at this point, a deep enough understanding of what it is that we might be voting for to set precedent in a sensitive situation. I may have more to say. I think I'm done.
Well, thank you. Sorry, Bill, did you have your hand raised earlier?
Yeah, I would just, I guess I come to a different conclusion on the substance than Walter. I would agree with him that having a 1-page updated plan that says it's 18 inches, here's how it relates to the lot lines, here's the paver we are going to use. But I'd be happy to treat that administratively, that says, so we have a record that is, to Walter's point, complete about what it is we think we're approving. That's how I would handle that.
I agree. I think, thank you. Anyone else for comment?
I'd just like to say that I'd sort of like to see a mock-up, as much as you would hate to do that. I do think the fact that if we don't really like it that much, if it's in ribbons, that's good, because it's going to be less of it. But what I'm really interested in was when you mentioned, Tracy, that you would have some stones in between this, and this could make a very different look. It could be softer, could look more like the pea stone again. But we don't have a visual of that. And so if you could, maybe just see your way to something, 12 by 12 or something. I don't think we necessarily need anything much larger than that, but I'd like to see something like that. It is hard for me to, I did go into the office today. Sorry, I missed the early morning drop by, but I'd just like to see a little bit more before we say yes.
Great, thanks,
I-
Wanda.
It might also, I know it's such a hassle to have to go back to the drawing board in some ways. I think you solve the issue of permeability, and I think that works. And I think we'll be getting away from asphalt in the future. So I think we have to start rethinking how we think about driveways. But it would be, I would like to see other natural stone alternatives that would fit more with the guidelines. I agree that brick would be jarring and red and to not work, and cobblestone might not work, but there might be other natural materials that wouldn't violate the guidelines so much, like fieldstone or bluestone or something that would be solid and plowable and natural. Your house is so natural right now. The idea of putting something so unnatural seems dissonant, but
Can I just say that in the first meeting, we proposed cobblestones,
yes.
and that was shot down. So
Cobblestone ribble driveway, or is that just a cobblestone driveway?
cobblestone anywhere. We were open to, but
I think that was
whatever.
I think that was the apron concept. Maybe.
Yes, but we also discussed in the meeting, having cobblestones in lieu of pavers. And there were several members who said no to that, that the commission was not in the habit of putting cobblestones. So there is a house at number 53 Monument, which is entirely cobblestones. And the grass has grown up through it, and that's, we're open to that if cobblestones are back on the table. But it's confusing for us, we're trying to accommodate all of the different desires of the different members of the committee, and they keep changing, and so we're getting frustrated.
I wasn't there for that conversation, but cobblestone is a traditional paving material. So I'm not sure what the issues were.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. I know that they were used during the time that this house was built in 1863. They were in common use. So
Can anyone explain why they were not favored?
I don't know. I was not at that one, and I watched the video, and I don't remember. I think it was Tim, Walter, you were at that one too?
I think
Well,
Walter and Tim were not in favor of that.
Was it because it was an apron? I assumed it was because it was an
Well,
apron.
it started with an apron, yes, which we've had a number of cobblestone
Right.
aprons suggested, and each time someone has come up with the historic reasons why they don't make sense in Concord. I'll just say before I disappear yet again, we do have guidelines, right? So it shouldn't be a mystery of trying to guess what the commission prefers. If we're living by our guidelines, as we need to be, I think, until we do another revision, which again is what I'm talking about, setting precedent with unnatural materials. But the guideline, which I didn't read before, is, the most appropriate driveway pavement for pre-1990 house is packed gravel because it has the softest and most historic appearance. And that's my main critique of the pavers, is I don't consider them to have an historic nor soft appearance, by any means. But if asphalt is preferred, applicants should have top coat rolled into the surface of the asphalt to mitigate the initial ink black appearance, which can detract from a site's historic character. Many different surface treatments are available for asphalt, which provide the appearance of gravel or pea stone in a solid, stable surface, and these are generally encouraged by the HDC. Poured concrete may be acceptable for some sites based on the age of the house. Stamped asphalt and concrete made to simulate other materials is not appropriate to any site. Concrete or asphalt pavers, which are made to simulate brick or stone, are also generally considered to be inappropriate within the historic districts. Real brick or granite cobblestones may be appropriate to some specific sites, depending on the age, style, and location of the building or structure. So there are guidelines, it's.
But
it's
why
easy enough
doesn't
to-
it mention cobbles? Because they're definitely historic.
Well, historic, one of the things that Anne sent along this afternoon, I don't know if everyone got a chance to read through them, was talking about the history of paving materials in Boston and Nantucket, primarily, but New Bedford, as I remember, and some in Cambridge. And there were granite, quasi-industrial business buildings in Boston that had granite walkways around them all. Perfectly appropriate for that kind of building, not necessarily universally appropriate historically, which would depend on context, just because they were of that time period and used in some places. I mean, my favorite of all that was massive granite slabs that had grooves cut in to take the water off. And I had a little flash of, boy, those would look great going up that driveway, and that would take care of everything. But again, it would be, an odd duck and the odd one out there. So to sum up, I think, cobblestones, yes, have historically been used for pavers, but they have not been universally used historically as pavers. And there's the rub.
But
So
it's also used
textual.
a number of houses in the district.
Well, 53 that was just invoked, was that approved by the HTC, that installation?
According to Anne, it was I think she said 2002.
Approved?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was approved.
All right, let's gather up these threads.
The one other thing I wanted to add is you can get bricks in a blackish gray color.
Well, there is a blackish gray color, and also some of the we've seen blackish gray, and the homeowners aren't interested in it, but I don't think we're interested in it as a district, introducing that's kind of a more contemporary look, wouldn't you say, for a house like that? I think that was what the
No, I think it's been used on old
but
residents.
it's not, it would be a departure from the natural color that's there now, which they prefer, is my guess. So, let's see.
Can I just say, I also read, Walter, what you read with all of the pictures that Anne sent to us. And there were quite a few driveways as well as roads with cobblestone. And so I would think that that would be perfectly acceptable. The
Oh,
granite, you don't see granite around here anywhere, but I think the cobblestone would be.
But we're probably talking granite cobblestones, right?
That's
Again, there's the rub.
Granite cobblestones as opposed to what other kind?
Well, there you go.
There you go. And are you is it your feeling that it wouldn't be typically seen on like a property near a river, this style of house, or would you say that cobble driveways were kind of more of an in-town thing, that were typically semicircular? Is any of that kind of been part of the dissonance?
Who are you asking?
You?
Me?
Yeah. I mean, just,
Yeah, well, contextually, if there's one, if there's one house in the district that was approved 20 years ago, and there's another one somewhere down the street that was not approved, but did it anyway, that's not not an overwhelming endorsement of it being an appropriate material for the district. That's it. I mean, if it were me, I would, just live with getting rid of the pea stone and be happy, and let it be plowed, and there you are. I think that there's a charm to that. But
like getting rid of the pea stone how?
Eventually it gets plowed up.
Oh, you mean just staying the way it is?
Just, yeah, I mean, that seems to me to be the crux of everything is here, Tracy, is that you don't want to deal with pea stone, so absolutely understood, and that's fine. I just personally, and I've expressed my opinion a couple of times here, I don't think that the synthetic pavers, are aesthetically the way to go. When was asphalt first used as a material for Concord driveways?
I think in the 20s.
Could very well be.
Packed gravel be better than pea stone? Is that a different material, or is that just as bad for getting in your garden?
It gets unpacked really fast. Unless you embed it in tar.
Yeah, that's-
It
Yeah,
turns.
I have, I said over and over again, I have pea stone for my driveway. The driveway was installed by the guy who's plowing it, and, they treat it well. And we pick it out of the grass. I understand that if it's down the slope and over the wall in the garden, as it is at Tracy's, it's a different situation. But yeah, gravel and pea stone or something can be embedded in other material to keep it from traveling. But so there are a couple of things going on. One is it's not going to be permeable to the same degree that anything else is, and that's a major consideration here in the mix. And I'm talking too much.
no, I think, all right. I think I know that the homeowners would like us to vote on this now, but what I'm hearing from the commissioners is everyone would like to see in some shape or form a visual of some sort, a sketch with some dimensions, and that is typically the way we go, regardless of how much input we've given on a design or approach. I think that unless someone feels strongly and would like to make a motion, well, someone has to make a motion regardless of what we do. But whereas I'm looking for Tracy, she's not, there you are. And yeah, well, I think, let me ask for public comment is there any public comment from the neighbors or anyone? No, okay. Back to the commissioners, would somebody like to make a motion that would be helpful to resolving this issue?
I would move that we continue and some sort of visual that gave dimensions and had a material that echoed the guidelines, which is not synthetic.
Oh, hang on one sec. Procedural issue. Thanks, Louis. Anne, are we or Kim, are we able to continue? Or do we have to vote tonight?
With
This is
the permission of the applicant. If the applicant does not want to continue,
Mhm.
then you need to make a decision.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's true. So Tracy, there is that option. We could vote. I could ask someone to move for a vote. And we could vote and have a decision. Or continue it one more time. Which would be till July 30th.
Okay, let's continue. This is taken, I mean, I don't know how you do this. This will be 4 hours of your time, which we appreciate, but there's been a lot of confusion, I have to say, as a homeowner, there's been a lot of conflict and confusion because of the changing personnel of the committee and I've been acting as if I was going to be addressing the same people each time, so that I thought we had a communal history of conversation, and it's disappointing to me. I have to say, I am really grateful to all of you for your time, especially for coming at 8 in the morning this morning. But it's really frustrating to not be able to fix our driveway. So
Um,
yes, let's continue. And I'll try not to be impatient.
Well, I mean, someone can introduce another motion because we have not voted yet. So I just needed to clarify. Louis made a motion. I needed to clarify that with Anne and then run it by you because it is not your responsibility that the commissions, stay the same so commissioners do need to sort of be aware of what's going on, and they are. But so there is one motion out there from Louis. Is there a second to that motion or an additional motion?
Could he repeat the motion? It got sort of interrupted.
Sure, thanks, Bill.
And I move that we continue with pending some sort of visual with dimensions so that the commissions would see the dimensions and some kind of visual, but also using some sort of natural paving stone.
May I add to that though, because in the last meeting it was reviewed with other commissioners that this brick material is considered. And so, I mean, is it excluding that as a consideration?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would, again, we don't want to design for you, but I was just saying something that's more in keeping with the guidelines that specifically say you shouldn't have that material, I don't know. For me, it's hard to go against my charge of following guidelines if the guidelines are specifically prohibiting something. It's hard for me to approve.
Okay.
I think not designing your driveway, but saying that if you chose a material that was consistent with the guidelines, not telling you what material.
So we could pave it, but we can't put bricks that are concrete.
No, I mean, cobblestone would fit the guidelines. Bluestone would fit the guidelines. Fieldstone would fit the guidelines. Any kind of stone that was not, quote, concrete pavers, which are made to simulate bricks, but.
I'm not sure that's an accurate statement either,
No.
that fieldstone would be approved.
But it wouldn't conflict so much with the guidelines.
I would say, Tracy, I think you've had the benefit. I understand that it's frustrating to not always have the same people to be speaking to, but on the other hand, you have the benefit of any number of us offering opinions and design guidelines as well. Well, I guess what I would like to see in this is to influence perhaps wording of a motion for you, Louis. I would like to see at least a rudimentary outline of how the driveway components are going to be put into that space, so that we're not talking about, well, I think it's 18 inches and I don't know quite how wide it is in the center. And that has to do with the borders and how it sits off the house and the like, just to get a stronger aesthetic understanding of how the driveway is going to go in. I would like to know how far back of the the two tire tracks are proposed to go, where it transitions to the area in the back that in theory we can't see from the road and then would not be in our purview. But that matters a bit. And rather than having us decide which color we're most likely to approve, make a choice of which color you want to have and have that be, have that be the color, so that we have something, I almost said concrete, to look at and visualize, but so we have something that is set and we can collectively make a decision about.
Why don't you make? a motion?
Maybe suggest, what I hear is we want a simple site plan, literally just has the dimensions of the ribbon.
I would describe it as rudimentary, yes.
Yeah, but the second thing is, I think we're not being clear to the homeowners, why I'm interjecting here.
Mhm.
I think Melinda suggested that we wanted a mock-up using the material that the homeowner wishes to use, i.e. the pea-colored concrete bricks. So are we saying we need two things? A site plan and a small mock-up using the color and material the homeowner wishes to install? Is that what we're asking?
If we're accommodating Melinda's questioning about that as well, yes. It may take more than 3 weeks to come up with the material to do that. I don't know what the relationship is with your contractor.
I would be disappointed if that were the case for
I
the
would be
homeowner.
surprised if you couldn't do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but also for the homeowner, because again, at the last meeting, there were commissioners who, like Dennis, like Catherine Mast, who suggested that the homeowner look into this material, who made it available. And I guess we can say we've seen it and we didn't think it was quite right, but I just don't want to lose sight of that as well. And so I think that's why it might get, I think that's why there's some confusion here. So Bill, can you continue to streamline for the homeowner?
I would just say that we're voting to continue, and the commission would like to see two things. One is the site plan with the dimensions of the ribbon, and the second is a mock-up, a small mock-up that represents a section of what that ribbon looks like with the material and color that the homeowner wishes to use.
And would it be acceptable, Melinda, if we just had a picture full size of that color of those bricks with the spacing, so that we understood that, rather than having to physically
Yeah,
have the
a
bricks
photo of
done?
a mock-up, that would be.
Yeah, because I'm still unclear about the mention of having stones in between the bricks and how that would look. If that's potentially the case, I'd like to see that. If it's not the case, I'd like to know that.
I think that'd be fine.
That would certainly be easier.
Okay, so, Anne, were you able to get that as a motion?
Yes, so it's a motion to continue with the expectation that there will be a simple site plan with dimensions of the ribbon, and also a small either physical mock-up or photo mock-up showing the let's see, the material and the color proposed.
and its physical, and the physical relationship of one paver to the next.
You like how they
Yes.
are.
Yeah, how are the
Yeah,
six,
whether there's
what's the
rocks
running
or
bond
gravel or
look like?
whatever in between.
Right. Yeah, how they're, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Walter. And I will go around for a vote. Bill,
Aye.
Louis,
I,
Melinda,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So Tracy and Joe, thank you for your patience and for showing us around this morning. And we will charge ahead and get you some resolution.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good night.
Bye.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody. I know that was a lot, but it's a great property. And on to the new public hearing. I believe it's the Woods at 241 Barrett's Mill Road. Do they have to come before this? Was this an administrative one? No. Oh, guess not, because they're Scott Wood.
I'm here if you need me.
Okay. Yes, so you're Scott Wood. And would you please fill us in on what's going on?
Sure thing. And thanks for having me. So yes, Scott Wood, 241 Barrett's Mill Road. And our application is for the installation of chimney caps on the 2 chimneys at our home, and some basic repointing of those chimneys as well. I think this should be pretty straightforward, but I mean, in terms of why we're looking to have the work done, we've been dealing with quite a bit of water leaking issues around and within those chimneys since we moved here 6 years ago. We've had multiple contractors attempt to remedy that set of problems with other approaches, but the opinion from our roofer and a couple of masons is that we really do need chimney caps to address the issue adequately. So we've worked with our mason, his name is Brandon Avery out of Waltham, and have selected a just very basic cap style that's going to be powder coated black in an effort to keep them as unobtrusive as possible. I did provide some sample images of what those would look like and some photos of our chimneys as they currently are. I'm happy to pull those up if it's helpful. And a basic site plan as well. But I think that's about it. I'll stop there if there are any questions or if there's anything I can clarify further. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. Are we looking at something, Anne? No? Oh, there it is. Thanks.
Is there a reason why you can't put a stone cap on it? Like a slate piece?
I think it's feasible. My understanding from the contractor is that they're not quite as effective. So he sort of steered us towards this, and frankly, looking around at the houses in this area, most seem to have this style of chimney cap, which is also a reason why we went in this direction.
And remind us again the age of the house?
Original house built in 1949.
I'll say I have no problem whatsoever with this, and I think it's a good move to do.
Any
Keeps
other?
the squirrels out.
Sorry, Kristen, I cut you off.
Keeps the squirrels out.
Yeah.
We haven't had that problem yet.
Oh, lucky you. Gosh,
Lucky
you'll know when
you.
you see.
Want to borrow
little-
some?
Yeah, exactly.
I can send some your way.
Looks fine to me.
And all right, any questions from the commission before I open it to public comment? Okay. Any members of the public like to comment on the chimney caps for 241 Barrett's Mill Road? No. Okay, back to the commission. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move we approve the application for 241 Barrett's Mill as submitted.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a
I
second?
second.
Thank you, Walter. I will go around for a vote. Louis,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So, you're all set with your 2 chimney caps.
Great. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah. All right. Next we have 9 Walden Street. Concord Square Trust, represented by Spalding Management. Is that who? Oh, there you are, Sharon Spalding. Hello.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to be here. I am in here with Colin Smith. He's my architect out of Colin Smith Architects in Lexington, Massachusetts. I'm going to give a little bit of a brief sort of overview about why we're here and why I'm asking for this. And then I'm going to let Colin speak basically for the technical questions. I understand for the commission, this is a big change, and I recognize that. So I wanted Colin here to be able to field questions that you might have. So currently this property is located at 9 Walden Street. The retail store that occupies the space is the Comina store. And currently we would like to, there's a granite step that we would like to remove and in favor of a sloped ramp. So the reason is I just want, it's a barrier of entry. I want the space to be accessible. I want the experience to be that people can feel that they can enter that store. I do have a handicap bathroom and make it more welcoming. And so that is the reason that I am asking for this. So I'm going to pass it over to Colin to really answer the more technical questions.
Thank you, Sharon. May I share my screen, please? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
it's fine.
Okay. Let's see here. You can see my screen?
Now, yes.
Okay, great. So as Sharon just explained, we're talking about the 9 Walden Street storefront here, the Comina store. It's the corner block here at as you can see here, that intersection. 4 other storefronts within this block have accessible entrances. Ours currently does not, and I believe the drawings and the sketches that Sharon has filed with you show 2 of the adjacent conditions. And this is our storefront here. We've got about a 6.5, 6 5/8 inch rise to make up. And there's the step here that Sharon had talked about. All the other, let's see if I can find the photos here. And then around the corner is the Sarah Campbell storefront as well. So these all have sloped concrete accessible entrances here. And that's what we're proposing. So I guess I'd just like to turn it over to you for any questions.
Thank you. It seems pretty straightforward. I believe there was one possible query about, Colin, where the concrete would meet maybe the wood of
Yeah.
so we can't see, that.
Right, so
somewhere.
yeah, so there we're thinking about doing a we need a bond break there. We're not just going to pour the concrete against the wood, so we need to protect that. We're thinking about a Freedom Gray flashing with a little reglet and hemmed edge, just to protect that wood, because we don't want to impact that or rot it. So that's our thought on how to treat that.
Sorry, what was that term you used? Regolith?
Reglet, just to make a small little curve cut to allow the flashing to go in, and then we can put some sealant in just to get a positive waterproof edge to that.
Okay. All right. Bill, did you catch that term? Is that one you knew?
I didn't.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Walter
good.
will know it though. Walter will.
I didn't either. All right. Of course, we don't have Tim here, so he would have, but God, always good when you can catch Bill. Does anyone else have any questions about this?
How do you deal with ice? Just ice melt on it?
Yes.
Yeah, Sharon, I'll let you answer that. You manage the
Yes,
property. so,
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
I have
let-
no problem.
no problem, no questions from the commission. Okay, any public comment? Anyone? Some of the commissioners know that I'm coming off 2 months in a plastic boot from knee to toe, so I think this is a great idea because I look at all this stuff differently now. I'm lucky I can take my boot off. Okay, so back to the commission. Would somebody please make a motion?
I move that we approve 9 Walden Street's application to put in a concrete ramp as submitted.
Thank you, Louis. May I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Thanks, Bill. I'll go around for a vote. Walter,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
Bill,
I
and I am an aye. So thank you. That is passed.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks for coming. Good night. And on to 29 Monroe Place.
I'm actually on a
Oh,
second.
there's another.
Oh, geez, I'm
hearing. I
so sorry,
apologize.
Sorry, just moving a little too fast. Oh, look, here you are. I thought I was looking at, oh,
Here I am
I'm sorry.
again.
Oh, gosh, sorry. Yes, okay. This is for
Yeah,
2 to
what do you
4
want this time?
Yeah. Didn't we just give you something?
Didn't you read between the lines? I saw it. Yeah, no. 2 to 4 Independence Court. Thank you. To remove and replace 6 windows. So yes, what would you like us to say?
Yes, so, again, for this, I'm asking Colin to stay on the call. We're looking to remove and replace 6 windows on the second floor. It is front facing onto Main Street. And they will be the Anderson 400 series in forest green. We have used these windows on the side and the back of the building, and these would be in the front. So just to give an anecdote of the existing tenant, Lori Kantowitz, she feels there's a very strong draft in the winter. It's uncomfortable. Over the years, we've sort of done everything possible to repair these windows. We do feel like this is what we need to do. It was precipitated when the work at Vanderhoof's, was approved by the commission. So we're following this scope and precedent that was set for them. So I think from there, I will let Colin give any more details in regards to these.
I guess the only thing I would add is that this would allow us to remove the storms, and then you'll be able to read the divided lights a lot better now on these new windows.
So it's a full same size replacement.
Correct. Yeah.
So it won't have that issue. We have window people on the commission. I am not one of them, or at best one of their lesser members, but so someone else feel free to pipe up, but usually so what will go in there will have the same amount of light, same amount of glass space. It's not going to be reduced, or the replacement frame isn't going to be a different dimension or anything like that.
Correct. It's not a frame within a frame.
Okay.
Same mutton width, and then we would like to remove this fat storm window frame here and the storm window itself.
So it becomes a full removal of the complete window replaced by.
Yeah, 6/6. Yep.
just to make sure I understood, so the outside framing, which is quite intriguing detail there, will remain.
The casing and the sill will remain, correct.
Thanks.
Yep. The sashes and the window frame will be replaced.
So a reasonable person would never know the difference.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's a very sort of almost bold look, this
Yep.
row of windows, so and quite visible, so we definitely would like it. Yeah, I in fact just bought a painting of this building at Concord Art, just saying.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to have it updated.
Wonderful.
Oh, darn, you're right. I'm going to return it. Um,
There's the same casing detail.
Well, the
on it.
whole idea is that you wouldn't have to return it, right?
I suppose that's right.
So
Walter.
that's your question. Will I have to return my painting?
My painting still be accurate? My little 5x5 painting.
We'll touch it up.
But I think that sounds pretty straightforward. Any other commissioner comments on the windows?
But maybe just on the exact material of the replacement
Mm.
window.
Anderson Woodwright, it's a wood window with a Fibrex exterior clad. So that's just on the mutton and the frame, but not the casing nor the historic sill. Would remain wood.
Thank you.
Right, okay. And when are you planning to do this or hoping to do this? I don't know.
So it will depend on my contractor. We decided that I would call him tomorrow and, deciding whether we got approved or not. And then if we were approved, then we'll just jump on his waiting list.
Okay. Even management companies have to be on waiting lists? I thought that was just.
When you get the best, you want to keep working with the best. So we'll wait.
Okay. Any public comment? No public comment? Okay, then I will ask for a motion from a commissioner. I think you're all muted.
Oh, I move we approve the application for 2 through 4 Independence Court as submitted.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thanks, Louis. Bill, Melinda,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
and Walter,
Aye.
and I am an I, and your window replacements have been approved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks,
With
Vicky.
the contractor.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right, you don't have a third item, so now okay, I'm not, there we go.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, now moving on to 29 Monroe Place. Russ and Paula Kopp being represented by Jeffrey Adam for fenestration and other issues. Is Jeff here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the owners, Russ and Paula, are working to log in right now.
Okay, there's Russ. He just popped up. Yeah, there they both are. Mm-hmm.
Russ and Paula, I'll just let you begin and then I'll describe them in more detail.
Okay, I only have a few brief comments. First of all, Russell and Paula Kopp were both retired healthcare executives. We lived in Wayland for 35 years. And we moved to Concord to downsize and to sell our Wayland house to our daughter and husband who are expecting their second son any day now. We were going to 29 Monroe Place, which is, as you know, a 1939 Cape that has had virtually no renovations since its construction, as best I can tell, and is in obvious need of renovations. Specifically as it relates to the HDC, you've got the application, but we're looking to replace jalousie windows that's on a 1960s, we think it was built in 1960, an enclosed porch, to replace those jalousie windows with double hung windows, similar in appearance to other windows in the house. Number 2, replace a few windows to improve functionality and to reduce draft, and replace it with windows of similar type. And number 3, to change the paint color from its current bright blue, I don't know how it ever got approved, to something more fitting of the Concord HDC area. We've notified, as you might know, Monroe Place is a cul-de-sac. We're sort of at the end of the cul-de-sac. We've notified all of our neighbors on Monroe Place, and Wendy Rovelli, who is on the corner of Bow and Monroe. Those, no one has objected. Everyone has, we have written letters of approval and support, which we've sent to you, I think is probably part of your package, from, I think, 5 neighbors. We're pleased to have this opportunity to present to you and look forward to your approval so we can move into the house. And finally, Jeff Adams, who is our contractor, who has a lot of familiarity with Concord, and that's why we engaged him, because he has that familiarity, is here to present the specifics of our request. And with that, thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ and Paula. Let's see, I'm Jeff Adams, 142 Farmers Cliff Road in Concord. And Kim or Ann, maybe we could bring up the photos just briefly of the house, and then I'll refer back to the plans to describe the changes in the windows and doors. So the house is unique blue right now. This is the west or the front side of the property, and the intention of changes to the existing house, which we'll look at on the plans, is simply to install a new front door and to replace those two existing windows on the right and the left door with the exact same size double hung new Marvin windows. And we can talk a little bit more about those details. They're very similar to the Anderson windows that were just discussed in the last presentation. Let's go to the next picture that shows, scrolling down, that's perfect. So the porch that Russ referred to has what are sometimes called Florida windows or jalousie windows, and we'd like to change those to the matching double hung windows that we'd be installing in the front. We'll see that on the plans. If we scroll up a little bit, this is the right side of the property, the south side. The rear of the property has very few changes. We're just changing the door to a matching style, but new door. It's got a lot of dog scratches and challenges. And the north side is, we scroll up a little more, is the driveway side. And the only change on this side will be on the right side, we'll be replacing the single window with two windows that will allow space for a headboard in that room. It's a very small first floor bedroom. So let's go to the plans, if we can bring those up. Actually, I think it's labeled elevations. Perfect.
Actually, while we're on that page, can you just, it's Bill, Jeff, can you just confirm what's visible from a public way? It looks like
for all intents and purposes, I thought I'd offer some comments on that. The west side is the front. We looked at that image a little while ago that has the front door. The jalousie windows are the bump out on the right. Now you can see the entire, because it's a cul-de-sac, you can see the entire front, the west elevation from the road. What becomes challenging is past the bump out that has the jalousie windows on it, you really can't see the side or the back. And it's also challenging to see the driveway side. It's possible if you kind of go onto the neighbor's property and look back, but particularly the rear of the property is difficult to see from Monroe Place. We actually did try taking a picture in the winter before the foliage was up from Monument Street to see if you could see the back of the house, but you really can't. It's quite a ways away.
Thank you.
And nothing from Lang Street?
No, not really. It's again very difficult to see. There's a great deal of foliage. I was there again today and I actually couldn't see Lang Street from the backyard.
Yeah, I don't, you can't see it.
So on the existing front or west elevation, the intention is to install a new door, and we've submitted the design of that. We can look at that in a minute. And to change the two existing front windows to the exact same size double hung Marvin windows that are wood sashes and very similar to the Anderson windows you just approved. These have a fiberglass type coating similar to the Anderson windows on the outside that's paintable, and that's our intention, to paint them trim color. On the far right side, we'd be removing all, on the west elevation, all of the jalousie windows and putting in, again, matching double hung windows. The exterior wood casing will be new wood and the sill will be new. Our intention is to remove the existing triple track windows, the triple track aluminum storm windows on the existing double hungs. If we scroll up a little bit and look at the right side of the house, or the south elevation, you can see the jalousie windows on that bump out on the left, and we'd be changing those to 2 double hungs. In addition, just to the left of that is an existing window, again to be changed to the exact same size double hung window. On the right side, which is really not visible from the street, we would be eliminating a kitchen window. The kitchen is really quite small, and it's there's only space for a counter on 2 sides, but it's very challenging to make it work with a cooktop and whatnot. So we'd be removing 1 window. And then in the back, there's a very small mechanical room, mudroom area, again, not really visible from the street. And we'd be removing the window in that space to make it a more utilitarian space. If we scroll up to the rear elevation, the change here on the left is to remove the jalousie windows and door and install a conventional French door on this rear part of the house. And on the rear dormer, we'd like to add a skylight above the staircase, which is an internal staircase without any natural light. Again, that's not visible from the public way. We'd also be removing a window on the rear in the far lower right-hand corner, again, to allow for a bathroom. Scrolling up a little bit to the driveway side, the change is to install a new door to the mudroom. It's the exact same 6-light door, but it's new, wood door. And on the right side, we'd like to remove the existing double hung window and replace it with 2 narrower double hung windows to match the glass size of all the other windows, but to allow for some headboard space in that bedroom. So that's the crux of the changes. We've also submitted the paint colors, and we can offer any feedback about that or any other technical questions you might have.
Thanks, Jeff. That was very comprehensive. What are the paint colors?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay,
Oh, that was-
turn to that, excuse me.
You kind of doubling down on that blue, is that it?
No. Paula, do you, while I pull out the poet, here they are.
Yeah, I can
So
tell you,
Paul, yeah, offer some feedback and then I'll talk more specifically about them. Thank you.
yeah, so the house would be called, it's a Bruton White. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's a very light tan color. And then the trim would be Swiss coffee, which is cream, sort of a cream color, a light cream. And then the door would be Stardew, which that what we see on the screen doesn't really do it justice. It is a light blue color, but not that's not quite it.
And currently, I think it's a red. I think it's a reddish door.
I think it's a red door now.
On a blue house. It's it's colorful as it is.
Great, thank you. So you haven't moved in yet?
We have not.
Have not moved in yet.
No, it was it's from 1939 and really was not, very livable.
I mean, on the HDC, we like all our historic districts, but we tend to have a particularly soft spot for that Monroe Place.
Great spot.
Yeah, it's really great. It's got still a nice nice scale to it.
When we filed for the tax abatement, they gave it to us because they said the house was officially unlivable.
Wow.
Oh.
So Jeff and his team have done a terrific job putting it together, and we really look forward to
and moving in.
moving this along.
Cool. Okay, any questions from the commissioners, since this is window stuff? Most is pretty similar replacement, but there are some different positions, and the jalousie windows is a change.
Well, my question is, the jalousie windows original to the 1939 house?
I think that porch was put on in like 1960.
Yeah,
That
that-
was what we were able to figure out through the
But they're
plans.
in places other than the porch, aren't they?
No, they're not.
Oh,
The
okay.
jalousies? No, I think they're
The
all there.
jalousies only on the porch.
Just on the porch, okay.
Mhm.
Too many views from too many directions.
Anyone else? Melinda, did you have your hand up? No?
Yeah, no.
Uh,
And vinyl clad windows, did I hear you say?
They're wood sash windows. The exterior is covered in a material that's very thin called Ultrex, which is very
Plastic.
similar to the material that you just reviewed on the Anderson windows. It's a paintable surface. The muntins are the same dimension as the existing windows that are single pane. And it's wood sash on the inside.
Okay.
So again, not physically changing the size of the
Nope.
components of the windows.
Exactly the same.
All right, and just everyone's okay with the, change of the windows on the first floor, where that small bedroom is in the corner, going from one window to two, which actually seems to look a little more balanced, but, it's, everyone's okay with that? Good. All right, I'm going to move it to public comment. Would anyone, care to comment on 29 Monroe Place?
You've got a raised hand there, Maureen.
Oh.
Kath-
Oh, yeah, we do. Thanks, Louis. Maureen Kavanaugh, you're on mute. You're still on mute if you would like to speak.
That, I don't know how I got unmuted. I'm just here to support the project, but I don't know what I did that got me unmuted.
Well, we got to hear from you, so that's
All
okay.
right, so I'm gonna lower my hand.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Oh, yes, that's right. The cops, you notified all your neighbors, which was very nice. And
Yeah.
actually, on my last historic district, it was a requirement. It's not a requirement here, but it really saves, I think, a lot of confusion. in
Is it
time.
not a requirement here?
I think it's not a requirement. It's a requirement.
There's another hand up from one of our neighbors.
Oh, okay. It looks like Michael Tenslint.
Yeah, hi, just wanted to say that everything looks great and we look forward to having Russ and Paul move in.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Okay. Anyone else from the fan club? That's pretty good. Nice. Good start. Okay. Back to the commission. If we feel comfortable with this, would somebody like to make a motion?
I move we
I do
approve-
have a question. I mean, there's a skylight involved in this, and we haven't really had any details whatsoever about that.
Is it visible from a public way?
No,
No, I don't think it is.
Well, there were two different descriptions of visibility. One was that things were described as not really visible, and then there were some things that were described as not visible, and you couldn't really see things. So I just wanted to understand with great clarity whether the skylight is how that falls, whether that's not really visible or whether it's absolutely not visible.
Yeah, thanks, Walter. I caused that confusion. My not really visible is related to the two sides of the property. The rear of the property is not visible from the public way.
And the skylight would entirely be on the rear.
Is on the
in
rear
terms
of the
of
building.
visibility.
Correct.
Okay. Good to clarify, though. Thank you, Walter. Are we ready for a motion now?
I'll move we approve 29 Monroe Place as submitted.
Thank you. A second.
second,
Thanks, Louis. And for a vote, Melinda,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Dale,
Aye.
Louis,
aye.
and I am an aye. So the changes for 29 Monroe Place have been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
For coming, thank you
Welcome
for
to Concord.
presenting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Moving on to 214 Monument Street, Sarah Huck. I didn't see her name.
Good evening.
Here you
Actually,
are.
myself
Oh, no.
and Aidan Lind are here representing Sarah and Roland Hoke.
Okay.
My name's Ann Fullerton, and Aidan and I are both from Adams and Beasley Associates.
Okay. Good evening. Thanks.
So just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. We are working with Sarah and Roland to improve the quality of their third floor windows. And we are restoring the historic windows for all but one case, which has a non-historic Harvey window in its current position and opening. So we're here tonight to talk to you about replacing that beautiful Harvey vinyl window with a all wood proper Bostonian window that will match the historic windows, and it does not impact the exterior trim, does not impact the existing storm condition. It is literally 2 sashes and jamb replacements. And just to give you an overview of where that window is, it's on the back of the mansard facing their garage and pool. So not visible from Monument. And to give you a little bit more detail, this is the view entering their rear driveway. Most people enter from their front driveway. This is their private side driveway. So it's this window tucked back behind this stairway mansard roof. And here is another view of it. The window next to it is actually a historic window. So this is the only Harvey one in that is of issue. And if we can answer any questions, we'd be happy to.
Sure, thank you. Actually, I remember this application and the Harvey window being singled out the first time. And as also looking at the, that's great that, even for this one, you're going with the proper Bostonian windows because those really look good. And I appreciate the Hoax working on the original windows. Just out of curiosity, do you any idea why the one needed to be replaced? Like, is it was it an earlier roofing issue or something like that? That
it was prior to their ownership, so we really have no idea. They bought the home in around 2003, and it was there when they purchased it.
It was a cannonball from the North Bridge battle.
Oh, that was it. Went right through. Yeah, I just didn't know if it was a sort of a roofing repair issue that we should know about or anything like that. But any questions from the commission?
No.
Seems straightforward.
Okay. For public comment, any neighbors or passersby? Questions, thoughts, comments? No. Okay. Back to the commission. And let's see, does anyone want to see do we have a cut sheet of this window? Does anyone feel the need to see that?
We do have a cut sheet that was part of your package. So the mutton is approximately the same style and size as the originals, as close as possible as we can get. And again, this section is not specifically for our project. This is sort of the proper Bostonians typical section, which frankly, this window type is used a lot in Beacon Hill. So this is a masonry detail, installation detail. What is of note is that we will be putting in two new sashes and really just the jamb liners. The rest of the window frame will remain in situ. The Harvey window was a replacement, so we don't have to touch anything from the exterior. We just have to pop it back out and use the original frame.
The original frame or the Harvey frame?
The original frame. Because the Harvey frame was it was a replacement window, so it
Yeah.
had like the filler frames on it.
Right.
All right. Thank you for that detail. Anyone, any other questions, or are we ready for a motion?
We're ready.
We're ready. Well, then. He who speaks.
I move that we approve this application to replace the Harvey window with a proper Bostonian for 214 Monument Street as submitted.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Walter. Melinda,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I am an aye to approve the window replacement at 214 Monument Street.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to 195 to 201 Lexington Road. Dean and Meredith Atkins are the owners, represented by Isabella Ehrlich, who I saw earlier.
I'm here.
Okay,
Yep.
hi. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, thanks. Will you be presenting? Yeah.
I will, thank you. Thanks for having me. It feels funny to be on the other side as I sat on the commission for many years myself.
Mhm. I don't know if you were here for the Winds, right? Did you live a few doors up from them on they lived at 404 Monument Street?
Yeah, I was at 454. Yes, I listened to their presentation I think I'll reach out to her and say maybe I could try to help her a little bit. So on the other side, I am the owner and principal of Milk and Honey Group. I am a designer, also a licensed general contractor. I specialize in historic preservation. It is my specialty and my passion. And I sat on the HDC for many years until my second son was born, and they did not allow breastfeeding during HDC meetings, so I had to resign. I am presenting tonight on behalf of the Atkins, and I'm going to share screen if that's okay. We are talking about the barn of 201 Lexington. In the late 1980s, this property, the barn part of the property was remodeled to accommodate an ADU. We have absolutely boatloads of historic information on the main house where Henry David Thoreau lived for several months before they moved to Chelmsford. It's all in the packet, but there's extensive detail that this was a small 2-room home and then extensively added on in the early 1800s and then in the late 1800s. There is no information that we have found through our historical records on the barn itself, which is really kind of unfortunate. I'm just going to show you the next. So this is from the straight on from the public way in full foliage. And this is back up from the driveway. You can see it in the rear. So we really don't know when it was built. And I worked with your team to try to figure out more and with the Commonwealth, and we just haven't found really any significant details that would be illuminating. We took a lot of pictures in the winter so you could see better what we're proposing. And some of this is a little bit TBD based on your feedback. One, we have a floodlight here in the middle that we would like to remove and add a barn light, which is in the packet, and I'll show you a mock-up shortly. We had sought to soften the appearance of this awful plumbing vent. However, we have not found a good alternative that would be historically appropriate. So we're proposing to just paint it in a matte black so that it disappears a little bit. Again, we worked with Kim to try to find alternatives or historic direction for what we could do for this plumbing vent, but we have not found one. The additional, this is the existing, as you can see, the floodlight and the vent are very visible. We also asked for storms for the first floor windows. At some point, they disappeared. The windows are not original. They were actually placed in the late 80s renovation. However, because we did not discover that until we had submitted the application, and because I know how carefully we consider windows on the HDC, we have kept the application just for an additional storm. However, if you would prefer that we go to another window, we'd be happy to consider that. But the application is for replacement storms to match the existing. So the primary purpose of this application is to create a piece of privacy fence to the left of the structure. And that is because they are conditioning part of the space on the first floor and the mechanicals are visible to the left. And so we would like to consider a piece of fencing to cover up the condensers set back from the house. And that is in the packet. I will show it to you. So the fence would go in this location. It's very bright red, just so I can identify where it would be. And then you can see here that we would be adding a storm, removing the floodlight, and painting the plumbing vent black. So here you can see the piece of privacy fence that we would be building custom to be as innocuous as possible, and adding a light over the doors, either in black or in a dark green. I like these lights because they're dark sky compliant. They don't shed light laterally. It only goes down, just for accessibility and safety. And we have two options, either the black or the green, depending on the commission's preference. So you can see in this section, let me zoom out a little bit. This is the front, the barn doors, and this is the piece of fence, and it is 5 feet. So I will now show you a mock-up, very close in. We had proposed either in natural cedar, or we can do it in, in a dark green. So that would be a piece of fence, very similar. The only intention is to hide the mechanicals and the garbage cans that are over here. I have mocked it up here in the natural cedar from the public way, and as you can see, it's very hard to notice it. I tried to brighten it up just to note it, to make it more visible in the mock-up. But that's the piece of fence that would cover the, as I said, the garbage cans and the condensers. Two options based on the commission's preference. Again, either the dark green or natural cedar. We don't have a preference. And then the addition of the barn light at the top, removing the floodlight, and that could also be black to coordinate with the oil rub bronze hardware, or it could also be dark green, depending on the commission's preference. And that's all of it.
Isabella, is it red cedar or white cedar for the fence? Red?
Red cedar.
Thank you. Very straightforward. I think we all
All
grasped it. Commissioners, any questions?
I have a minor one.
Absolutely.
If I read the plan correctly,
Mhm.
the fence is on the same plane as the front of the barn.
It is not, it is set back.
Okay,
So
so that
it
the
doesn't-
drawing's wrong.
It
just-
would be recessed from the facade.
Like how far, 2 feet or 4 feet or?
I think it would be more like 12 inches.
Okay, I think some recess from that front
Yes,
plane would
I-
make it less obtrusive.
100% agree.
Thank you.
100%. It should be as unobtrusive as possible.
All right. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Any opinions on colors, or we content to leave it with the homeowner's preference?
Green
Since-
light and that natural cedar.
The green light and the natural cedar.
That's my preference. Yeah, I was asked, wasn't
This is exactly why I asked.
I? Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with Walter, although I wouldn't object to the other choice either.
Nor would I.
Same here. I suspect for the homeowner, cedar is probably easier. You're not painting it.
I think they just don't
It's-
want to look
it's
at the
less
hideous
obvious.
recycling bin.
Huh. Yeah, understandable. Yeah, I have, I lean slightly towards cedar, and in terms of color for the light, their preference, because isn't the rest of did you say the door hardware is oil rubbed bronze?
Yes, it's oil rub bronze, sort of weathered to black.
So, black light would be fine too, but, I think we're all pretty sanguine about that. Let's see if the public has any strong opinions. Are there any public comment on changes to the Atkins barn? No, it doesn't appear to be the case. Back to the commission. If no one has any further questions, somebody could put up a motion, please.
I'll move we approve.
We approve the application for the work at 195-201 Lexington Road as submitted.
Thank you, Walter.
I'll
Bill,
second.
okay, excellent. Thank you, Bill. And I'll go around for a vote. Melinda,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and Walter.
Aye.
And I am an aye. So thank you. Your application's been approved.
Thank you so much. And I hope that you guys add something about plumbing vents so that we can figure out how to make them less ugly.
Run it to the backside of the building.
Oh, if I could cut
Yeah,
through this building, I would. I would have to disturb those beautiful, beautiful posts in the barn.
I know. That's the only way around it.
I know. And if I was touching that, I can guarantee you I would be doing that. Unfortunately. not. Anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your civic duty.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Okay.
you, guys.
Take care. Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, moving on to a big application at 252 Lexington Road. Let's see, who will be presenting? The architect, Peter Dos Haberle?
Yes, hi. I'm Peter Dawes Haberle, 63 North Hancock Street in Lexington. And I'm presenting for Alex and Dave Dohan, who are purchasing this house on Lexington Street and Lexington Road, rather. And they're very excited about it. It's a tremendously exciting project. For me, I've been doing this for 30 years, and this is probably one of the most exciting ones that I've had the opportunity to work on. I'd like to share a screen if I may.
So they haven't moved in, they're new to this property.
They're new to this property. They're going to renovate the property and then move in when it's done. This is the property here, and what's exciting for us was that we were able to do some research and on the property. Alex was talking to a neighbor and found out that they thought that it was a Sears kit home, and it was actually a kit home from a company called Aladdin Homes. And we actually were able to find the original publication of the catalog from that company, and which makes it absolutely exciting. So you can see the house here under this. It's got aluminum siding on it now. This portion of what was the open porch has now been enclosed. And if I scroll down, you can see what the original house would have looked like. This is from the catalog. So you can see that in this picture, we've got the same stone columns on the bottom. We've got the same details with the exposed rafter tails and beams and everything, which is just beautiful details. This shows what the columns would have been originally looked like in the original design, which is a little bit wider than what's there now. What's there now has been replaced over many times over. It's got, you know, off the shelf Brosco moldings on the corners and band molding on top. This original house was available in either cedar shingles or clapboard, as you can see in this picture here. So if we scroll down, we find some really interesting things. This is another ad from this house, original ad for this house. And we can see down here, it says this house can be had in either cedar shingle siding or bevel siding. So that's very interesting. This one shows brick bases under the columns. And then we scroll down even further, and I think this is the funniest one. You see the price of that house back in the day. So $1,400 or $1,500. The original details of the railings are still there. You know, so many things that we can go back to are still on the house, which is very exciting. So if I'm scroll down a little bit further, we also found from the original catalog, we've got some photographs of what they had for some of the interior details, which is really great because we're going to actually use some pieces from the original house and recreate these between the living room and the dining room. So, you know, this is the existing floor plan now, and at one point there was an open porch on the back, and that's been enclosed, and we're going to put an open porch on the back. We're just expanding the kitchen, putting on about a 300 square foot addition in the back. And but being faithful to the house, really, keeping the living room in the exact, you know, in the same location, keeping the study in the same location. A big thing for us is going to be to open up the original porch, take off that addition that was done in the 70s and open that back up. And then an expansion on the kitchen a little bit here, and then a back porch here to overlook the backyard, which is beautiful back there because it overlooks wetlands. I'll scroll back to this picture. I apologize about zooming in and out because that's a little disorienting, but
I'm sorry, is Lexington Road at the top of the of the plan?
That's a good question. Lexington Road is right along here.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes, so this is the front of the house. I'm sorry, I went a little bit quick. This is the front porch right now. Right now, this section of the porch is enclosed, and that's what we're going to open back up. And let me scroll back up to that picture again. I apologize about all this scrolling. Sometimes it's disorienting. This is the section of the porch that was open and is enclosed now. And what they did was they moved the original front door from here over to here, and they closed this section, and they're calling it the entry, which it's not, it's the porch. And then they separated these two windows here, and then they put another door in this section here, which goes into what was originally a bedroom. So it's a little bit haphazard. So this is a big Anderson casement window, a big Anderson window there, big picture window. So this is the original open porch, which would look like. So let me scroll down to the elevations here.
I'm sorry, just to sequence things. So from public ways, 3 sides are visible, but not the back. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
So from a public way, this side is visible, the front is visible, and this side is visible. and then the garage in the back. So this is the existing front. This was the front door, which they moved from here over to here, and these windows they separated and put one of the windows in where the door was. Now these are original windows, these windows here, and we're going to restore those windows and keep those windows. This is the existing back of the building, which is not terribly pertinent to us, but this was an open porch and that was enclosed, and so we're going to put an open porch on the back again. So this is the proposed front elevation. So we're opening up this section of the porch here, putting the windows back where they were, and moving that original front door back to where it was. This window stays where it is. And then what we're looking to do is to add a side porch here so that to give access from the garage to the house. And because we're taking away an entry here, we're adding an entry in the back. If you would like, I can jump back to the floor plans to illustrate that. Would anybody like that? Or
Sure. Yeah, I just
okay. So so this is I'll go to the original floor plan. So right now this is the enclosed porch, which they are calling the entry, and they had moved the front door from here over to here and split these two windows. So what we're going to do is open this porch back up and then make a better entry into the back. So there'll be a side porch, a side entry here into an entry in the back, because most of the time people will be driving into the driveway, coming from the garage and into the house this way. And then an open porch so they can look out their backyard, and then an entry that comes here, sort of like a mudroom entry into the kitchen. The dining room staying where it is, the living room staying where it is, the study is staying, and this bedroom staying. This bedroom gets expanded a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a pretty extensive restoration, renovation.
So part of the new back porch will be visible from Lexington.
Yes, this portion of it would be visible.
Right.
Yes, you're correct about that. So I'll scroll down a little bit further. This is the existing side elevation. We have this huge window here where they enclose the porch, this funky 1970s door that goes into that bedroom, just plain, not even muntin windows, and then just storm windows in the back for that enclosed porch. And this is the other side, the driveway side, and I'll share some photographs with that as well. And this is a door down to the basement. The property slopes off a little bit here. And then these are the proposed new side elevations. So we're going to open that porch up again. One of these columns has been removed, and we're going to restore that. This is the existing foundation, and then we're going to drop down with siding in this area here, and then this is the porch off the back. Now we purposely didn't do stone columns in the back. We thought about stone columns in the back, but part of the idea was to make this section of the house a subjugate to the original house. You know what I'm saying? So that the most important part, what draws your eye, are the columns in the front of the house, the stone columns in the front of the house. But we are going to go ahead and match the detail of the open rafters, the exposed rafter tails, these beams that are come out, these beautiful little details here. We're looking to go from it now has like the standard K gutter, but originally the gutters would have been half round gutters. So we're going to go back with a half round gutter. Those will be aluminum and painted to match the trim of the house. And that's similar to what we see in the original illustrations from the catalog. The windows that we're using are Marvin windows. They're all in all wood.
Before we get into that, just orient on the gross changes. If you could just indicate with your cursor on that side view, where is the existing rear? How much are you adding? I'm sorry, and the one on top of that.
Yeah, so right now the rear comes to about here.
Got it.
So right now there's the enclosed porch is right here where my cursor is.
Mhm.
And then there's the steps coming down, there's a big gigantic row of concrete steps coming down. So we're adding a roughly about 300 square feet to the house.
Excluding the porch or including the porch in that number?
I have to apologize. I do not remember
Okay.
whether it was including the porch or not. It's 300 square feet. Oh no, that does include the porch.
Okay.
And part of that is that, yeah, exactly. We're taking away some square footage by opening this porch back up, making this porch open, and then that sort of balances with the addition of this back porch. So there's not a lot of added square feet right now. The basement is unfinished, and then in the new plan we are planning on finishing the basement. So there is a decent amount of additional living square feet in the basement. So that's about 600 additional square feet.
Thank you.
So in addition to that, there is the garage that's back there right now, which I think this was the original structure. Then this was added here. This structure is in very poor shape, and so this just really needs to be torn down. It is also in the 50-foot setback of the wetlands. So we're proposing to build a new garage with the same square footage, pulling it out of that buffer zone. So I'm gonna, and this is elevations of the garage. On the back of that garage, which is not visible from a public way, they're looking to put some solar panels to help, offset their energy use. So, but that's not visible from a public way. And that's here, and that faces basically due south. I'm going to scroll back up here to this drawing shows the dotted line is the footprint of the existing garage, and this is that 50-foot buffer zone. So we're pulling it out of that 50-foot buffer zone, and that's what they call a 50-foot do not build zone. And so we're pulling it into the 50 to 100-foot buffer zone, and this has already been through wetlands and has been approved. When we do that, we're going to reduce the paved driveway, and the one thing is that, depending on how things go tonight, we may need to put a stipulation. We are looking to put pervious pavers in this section, and that's part of our presentation for wetlands. And I realized that we did not present to you what type of pervious pavers we were looking for. So we could, have a stipulation that we need to come back for that if you would like. So let me scroll down here. This is the view from the side of the house. So as you're going down Lexington Street, you do see that side of the house, and you would see that new portion of the porch back there. So you would see that back there. And this is your view of the garage from Lexington Street. You basically see the front of the garage. I think you could see the side of it from other people's properties. And then this is the view of the other side of the house from Lexington Street.
Were there garages in that catalog as well?
Oh, I would love that.
You can build in a day.
There were no garages.
Oh, I'm just wondering if.
Yeah, I was going to stop this share and start a share that has a lot of the specifics on the materials. Do any of you have any other questions about this one? Or we can come back. So
I guess I'm just generally curious about the design of the garage and how much of it is freewheeling and how much is inspired by.
Okay, I'll go
so
back
you're
to
going
that.
to great pains to try and restore the
Yes.
house. I was wondering if there was a sympathetic design for the garage that sprung from the same.
Bungalows?
Yes.
Yeah, they typically do.
Yeah. what we've done is we've taken a little bit of cues from the house. So we're looking at doing the same sort of rafter details on the side, an open rafter here, exposed rafter tails, the half round gutter. So we are trying to pay attention to the existing house, but still make it subjugate to the house and not fight it.
I think as a commission, we appreciate that.
Yeah. So let me stop this one and I will jump into the next share. So in this share, I'll just start. We were, very happy to find the original door, even though it moved. So we're going to restore this door and reuse it. Obviously, this needs to be repaired and replaced, as we go along, things like that. But so that was exciting. This is the door that we would be using on the side porch, which is towards the back of the house. It's an all wood Simpson door with a panel down at the bottom. This is a cut sheet for the Marvin windows. This is an all wood window that's painted on the exterior and painted on the interior, as a matter of fact. But so that's for the Marvin windows. What we were looking for the columns was to use this column from Turncraft Columns. This is a fiberglass column, but what you would see from the outside would be painted. So it would, the material you actually see is what would have been the original material, which is paint. So these columns, the existing columns on the building are sort of cobbled together, like I said, with a bunch of off-the-shelf moldings on them. This one is got the proper taper that you can see in the original catalog illustration, and we would be using this top and base, which is also more indicative of what was in the original column, original catalog illustration, as opposed to what's there right now, which is it's just a piece of 1x and a piece of band molding. So this would be bring it back to the original style. For the back railings, we're going to just use this, which is a cedar railing system. The balusters are bigger than 2x2, so we'll be using these this system, which offers a bigger baluster, and then we'll be using a wood cap here as well. These are the lights that we would likely be using on the front porch up in the ceiling. Again, I was able to find lights from 1920, when this, the era of this house, from the Sears catalog that looked just like this. So that was pretty satisfying. And then we have, just moving back to the garage, on the garage.
On lights, somebody needs to ask, you're going to be compliant?
Yes. Yep.
Will those lights be visible from the outside, or are they up into the rafters?
They're up in the ceiling. There's a flat ceiling to those porches. It's a beadboard ceiling, so you would be able to see them if you crouched down. Absolutely. As we move back to the barn, or the garage rather, on the garage, it would be preferable if we could use a fiberglass door just on the garage, because that is much more prone to weather. It's not covered or anything. So this would be the door that I would propose for the garage. It's a fiberglass door. It's made using this simulated divided light, and it's called direct glaze, which means it has a lot of depth and it doesn't have that extra, it's made exactly like a wooden door, in other words. And then for the garage doors, this is a garage light, because we have one light on the garage, a sconce, and then
And dark sky compliant?
yes.
What's the wattage?
I would have to get back to you on that. I think it's pretty low.
Yeah, okay.
Probably, I think they're like 40 watts on that one. Pretty low. For the garage doors, we'd like to use these doors made by Clopay. These are sort of a simulated coach style door. I've seen there are other examples of this style door on Lexington Road. These doors are nice just from my point of view because they're actually made exactly the same way as wood doors. So once they're painted, you can't tell that they're not wood doors, as opposed to, you know, a garage door with like applied moldings and stuff like that. They don't have a great cut sheet on them, but they are actually these joints are coped and have an ovalo sticking on them, and so they really do look like real garage doors. Here I'm just showing you some additional photographs of the house. These great details of the rafter ends and the beam ends and everything like that. And then somebody just jammed some pressure treated lattice in there and stuff like that. But we're looking forward to returning the house to the way it should look. So I'll jump in with any questions.
What is the original? Do you have the original chimney in stone as well, or is it brick?
The original chimney is brick.
Well, they must be very excited. This is a great,
Yep.
don't have many bungalows in the district.
No.
And, they're, what you've proposed keeps very much with the bungalow feel of the way the rooms connect to each other and to a porch or, I have a bungalow, and I had to renovate.
Yeah.
I've been told architects like working on bungalows, but
Yeah.
because they just use space so well.
Yes.
And I don't have any questions myself that I see. Sorry, you did touch on the lattice that I'm looking at right now in the front picture. What are you going to do about that? Will you make it rectilinear or, how are you going to address that?
I'll jump back to that in 1 second. And these are the paint colors that we had proposed. So these are all historic Benjamin Moore colors, Jamestown blue. This would be the front door, gentleman's gray, and then this is the trim, which is called timid white. Let me jump back to the other share. And I can answer your question about the. So I'm going to scroll up here. So what I was proposing are just to keep it simple and clean would just be vertical 1x4s set at a 4.5 inch spacing. So basically you have like an inch between each vertical 1x4. So all of these materials would be wood. The only sections that we're proposing to be painted PVC would be these column bases here, just because those tend to be, rot prone over time. So everything else would be painted wood.
I have a question.
Yeah.
First, this is a very nicely done package. Thanks for taking the time to do the historic research and show it to us. Fascinating and
yeah, it's
very
very
nicely prepared. I may be taking a cue from Walter's comment. If you could go back to the garage elevation. I'm least qualified of any of my colleagues here on this, but I go from a garage that's about falling down but therefore is quite subsidiary in the sense that you don't notice it. To this design, which you can't not notice. It's got bright doors, they're big, and I just, it's the only thing in this package that doesn't quite feel historic, if you will. And again, I'm not an architect, but it almost seems like those doors are squeezed in, and I don't know if there's something that's not quite the same.
Well, it's the asymmetry of the
That
two
too.
large doors
Yeah.
with the roof line that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm sorry, it's not a question, but it's a reaction.
Yeah.
At the risk of saying things you're not supposed to say, if you move the human door to the side there and centered or balance the other two, it would take care of that. And I'm
That's
saying that
true.
in terms of the historic presentation of this building to make it look less out of place with the existing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this is the existing garage and it has the two doors squeezed to one side and a blank spot here. And maybe I was queuing off of that.
Yeah, but it's an entirely
without
different roof line.
realizing. Yeah, it's a totally different roof line. Yeah, I mean, who knows when this or how this was built? You know, it could have been a poultry shack at one point.
Well, what's the speculation here? What's the depth of each of these spaces, the parking spaces that could have been added on for a longer car if
True.
cars got longer? That would be my guess.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Unless they had a fire truck in the backyard.
I just wonder if that old roof line wouldn't be more appropriate. Again, as a question,
Right, because maybe take this dormer off and just leave the roof simpler. Certainly worth looking at.
Or leave the roof line, and again, we don't like to do this. Yeah, and I really don't
Oh,
like
that's
to,
okay.
but we offer ideas, but let's keep that roof line and move the human door around the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
or
And then
both.
We're very you know, the Alex and Dave are obviously really looking forward to moving into the house. So we would be willing to we'd be very open, obviously, to your decision on this, with the stipulation that the barn needs to be, is not approved at this point, and that we would come back for that. So, and that would work fine for us.
I believe the technical term is to de-ostentationize it.
Yes. I like that.
Oh, and that's, sorry, Peter, did I miss this? You talked about, and maybe would this be part of the coming back on the garage barn, but about the paving surfaces?
Yes. So I realized after that first, meeting that was held tonight, that that's going to be something that we're really going to want to take a look at. I had looked into, they do make a pervious paver it's called a Boston City Hall pervious paver. It's not a Boston City Hall brick paver, which would be really nice, but those are not pervious. So we would have to do some research to find an appropriate pervious surface back there. And the reason why we're looking at a pervious surface is so that we can mitigate this building site next to the wetlands. So that's the only reason why we're sort of introducing this. Though I think it wouldn't be, I think it might be kind of nice to have a little bit of, a little less asphalt. I'm just scrolling up here again to the site plan. Because if you walk off the side porch back to the garage, it might be nice to, this was planned to be a pervious surface. It would be kind of nice if this was sort of more of a pathway back. So brick might be appropriate. But to your point, I don't have a specific paver to present in the meeting tonight. I realized that was an oversight when we were sitting through the first hearing.
Because we do care.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's see. Are there any other questions? Does anyone feel the need for a site visit?
Well, I sort of do, because I'd really like to see the
we
building.
usually do have them if some degree, if any
But-
demolition is involved. I mean, it was a very
But
comprehensive.
that's the
package.
only reason that I would want a site visit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very
demolition.
comprehensive package, but usually if there's some demolition involved, we just like to see it. We almost,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of not surprising. So, or if we had a site visit, it would be the morning of the next meeting, which would be July 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Just to be clear, Kate, I don't think it's necessary.
you don't think you don't feel any need?
No,
for
it's just selfish. I'd love to see it.
Well, actually, you know what, we
Well, you're
don't.
certainly welcome to be there when we get started. I would love to walk you through it. So
Well, we don't need to be there now anyway, because we can't, I think our bigger concern is just to see where the garage is, and that's
Yeah.
going to get revisited anyway, later.
I was gonna say, if we're partitioning this into the house and then the barn plus the drive, we can take a motion on the house and have a site visit in conjunction with the discussion of the barn and the pavers and.
Yeah, I think that's the way to
Yeah.
go. All right, any other questions? Anything else anyone wants to zoom in on from the commission? Okay, I'll open it to public comment. I don't have my faces up, but would anyone care to comment on this project? No. Okay, back to the commission. Would somebody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the house portion of the submission. And if this is technically correct, continue for a further discussion of the design of the barn and the driveway layout and materials.
Oops, sorry, Bill. Hold that thought, because we do have a raised hand from Ermengarde Doan.
Yeah.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I wasn't quick enough. I am the immediate abutter to the west, and I have a couple of questions. Regarding the garage, how much closer to the house will it be?
It's about 5 feet that we need to move it forward so that it goes out of the buffer zone.
About 5 feet? Okay.
Yes. And it'll be a little bit further away from your house.
Okay, that was my next question. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
it needs to be shifted towards their house so that we have the proper setback from your house. Right now, it's non-conforming. We're going to bring it into conformance by moving it closer to the house. And we can visit that some more on the next meeting, because we're going to be revisiting the garage.
Right. Yeah, that was my question, because I know there is a specific amount of space that has to be between. Okay. Okay. Then my other question is, and that's an even bigger concern, is are you adding to the basement or just finishing it?
Just finishing it.
So you're not adding a basement? All that addition is going to sit on the existing part?
We will, I'm sorry, I didn't make myself clear. We're adding about 300 square feet to, no, I'm sorry, about 200 square feet to the basement.
Okay. Okay, that brings me to another point. I have lived here for 40 years, and every time somebody starts digging up the neighborhood, there's a water problem.
Right.
And I'm really concerned about that.
Well, we took care of that when we went to the Wetlands Commission, and we would also be taking care of that through the engineering department, and so we're going to be doing a lot better water mitigation for that house, which means the water won't get to the neighbors because we'll be putting it back into the ground itself.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope so, because
Yeah.
that's what they told me when they did the museum, and
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Oh, so, so Peter, with that water mitigation, have you determined yet how you'll do that?
It was part of the wetlands presentation, yes. And that was in my package. I don't have that for us to view tonight, but it is
Okay,
in my package. Yeah.
Okay, I can look it up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No, from Mrs. Stone? No.
No.
All right, I'll go more slowly. Are there any last questions before we go back to the motion? No, okay, so does everyone remember Bill's motion?
I have a comment about the motion.
Okay,
Which is if we look at the way that it is structured on the agenda, if we approve up to the semi, or not, it wouldn't be the first semicolon, but there's the semicolon, install new gutters, semicolon. Then after that is just demolish existing two-car garage, construct new two-car garage in new location, alter driveway and impervious surfaces. That just very handily differentiates what we're approving and not.
Yeah.
okay, good. Thank you, Secretary Clay. That's why they pay you the big money. Let's see. Okay, so
Need a second.
yes.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Louis. And I'll go around for a vote. Melinda,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Louis,
Aye.
Walter.
And I have a question, which is if we're talking about a site visit, is that something that needs to be scheduled now, or will that be contingent on the continuance part of this motion that we haven't addressed?
Well, actually, that's a good point. Sorry, Peter, will you be submitting a separate application then for?
Yeah, I'll
You'll need
submit another application for which will be more comprehensive for the driveway and the garage and everything like that. So yes, I think it's best to submit a separate application so that it's clean for you guys.
So we don't need a continuance as part of this then?
That sounds right. And does that sound right to you? There
Right, I was
isn't
just gonna,
a potential
clarify. So
minefield.
Are you saying that you'd like to withdraw a portion of the current application, and the part that you'd like to withdraw is that part that Walter just spoke to about demolishing the two-car garage, constructing a new two-car garage and altering the driveway?
Yeah, we could do that if unless it's more seamless to do a continuance. Whatever you prefer, whatever works best for your bookkeeping or your system.
And I mean, it's.
Should we approve should we approve the first part and then continue the demolish existing?
That makes sense.
Can we do that? Can we have two motions on one application?
You could.
Sorry.
Bill?
Why don't we separate the two if the applicant is willing to withdraw the garage portion, and it just seems simpler if we do it that way.
Okay,
Yeah, that would
thank-
work.
Okay, thank you, Peter. All right, so
Down to my vote. Now that that's clarified, right?
so now we have your vote because.
I'm an aye.
Okay, and I am an aye, approving through install new gutters, withdrawing the subsequent part and leaving it at that. So, thank
All right,
you.
Thank you very much.
That is, thank you for a very comprehensive presentation and a great looking project. And we will see you soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Good night. Okay, Town of Concord. for Harvey Wheeler Community Center. And who is presenting for Concord tonight?
Hi, this is Russ Carlstead, Facility Manager for the town.
Hi, good
Online, we have Steve Dukran, the town engineer, as well as Ron Hedrick from GPI, who's going to present a small presentation.
Okay.
And Ron, you can take it away.
Sure. If I can share my screen here, I will. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Should be a large brick building with a red tile roof.
We got it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. My name's Ron Hedrick. I'm a senior landscape architect and vice president with GPI. We're engineering, landscape architects, traffic engineers, a lot of things. But going to give you a quick overview of the project. If I can. Let me try this. Trying to advance my screens here. There. Just real quick, I'm going to touch quick project overview. I'll touch on the existing conditions, our proposed improvements, and then we can have questions and discussion on it. So just before I leave this slide, this kind of blocked out piece is the northeast corner of the Harvey Wheeler building. It's the corner we're really dealing with. We're not dealing with any other part of the site, just this corner. And I'll sort of explain that as I go along. The reason we're here, the Harvey Wheeler building is located in the Church Street Historic District. I took this off the website, your website, so probably familiar with it. Kind of includes the church and several other buildings as well. Originally, the building was built around 1917. It was known as the Harvey Wheeler Grammar School. That's what it was an addition to the existing schools. It was much needed. The style is described on the Macris data as either a Spanish, I'm trying to remember, a Spanish revival, or I like this term, Spanish eclectic. It's kind of a very unique building for Concord because it does have a very Spanish flavor to it with the red tile roofs, and its significance is listed as architecture and education. I think it was considered a model school at the time, although some of the information I read, it sort of suggested it was built on a site really too small for probably, once it filled with kids, it wasn't a very large area. Some unique materials, sandstone brick. I don't think I've ever seen sandstone brick. It's very kind of coarse looking. It's got granite and ceramic tiles on it. The roof is obviously ceramic tiles. And I will note that there's been some notable modifications to the building and to the site over the years. Particularly, we've been referencing drawings dated about 2002, where a large parking area behind the site was incorporated, as well as some entrance improvements that basically is a large part of the scope of what we're trying to do here. So this is our project area, that northeast corner. For references, north is up, and we're calling this that the north entrance, and east is to the right of the screen. The true north is a little bit different from that, but just to kind of orientate everybody. The project goals are really to repair the stair and ramp deterioration that's occurred since the work was done in 2002. It really has nothing to do with the building. So all our work is really exterior to the building, but we've got significant deterioration in areas of the concrete work that was done. There's concrete stairs, concrete walls, aluminum railings that were installed. We're also looking to address some accessibility issues and code compliance. There's a set of stairs that no longer meets code, and we have a clearance issue on the handicap ramp that goes down to the basement level. And I think part of what we're trying to do is just improve the overall appearance and fit of the work here, because 2002, they really weren't looking to try to make it match the building too much or anything. So it's basically concrete and pipe railings. So kind of give you a better flavor for that. Two pictures. The one on the left is the east entrance, sort of that side entrance. The north entrance, I guess I'll call it the back entrance because it's the opposite side of the front entrance, which was where I led off in that opening slide with the bell tower. And so this is the backside from Main Street. And as you can see, the north entrance is really the primary entrance into the community center. And the east entrance is a basement entrance or exit, not widely used, but it does have an accessible ramp down to it and a set of stairs. And all of that has, over the last year, gotten to a place where the town felt like they had to close it off. So it's currently taped off for safety reasons. But you can see the general character of these areas. Again, as I said, concrete walls, concrete stairs, concrete sidewalks, white painted aluminum handrails and guardrails. The difference being the guardrails are those with the tightly spaced pickets. Those are to prevent falls, whereas the handrails are to serve the ramps and the stairs. And on the right picture there of the north entrance, you can see that I can only describe it as just one large giant concrete patio slab. The way it was done is a little bit of a mystery to me. They just poured this very thick concrete slab and put a step in to get up there. Showcasing some of the problems that these areas are facing. The east entrance, you can see tremendous spalling on the stairs. Not unexpected, I guess, if a lot of times stairs get salted over the years and that breaks them down. I've seen these nosings, these steel nosings that they put on stairs. I've never seen these really succeed very well. I think it's partly because the ions of the salt get underneath them and just keep working away at the stairs. But there's another unique problem going on the ramp systems and the railings where it doesn't seem to be a concrete issue. It seems to be the grout that was used to fill the hole when they mounted the railings has failed for some reason. If you go down there, you can actually poke your finger into that stuff and it's like soft sand. And I think it just has been absorbing the water over the years. And basically the freeze thaw is popping off kind of these distinct kind of conical shapes. And that's happening all along the wall. And it's even happening up on top of where it's popping the corners and stuff. So we put together a set of plans that is, in some places we're going to remove like this top slab here and replace it. Other places we're going to do some concrete repairs and even some crack injection to try to arrest some of this before it gets worse. Over at the north entrance, not quite so dramatic, but we've got, some chipped corners where the snow plows hit it. We've got some rusting and spalling repairs that have happened on the primary steps. Here we've got that kind of cracking at the corner of the ramp. And I will note that these benches and these planters have been placed here, and I think it's partly because this is a bit of a not so much a fall hazard, but certainly a trip hazard. And for the Council on Aging, you can imagine that could be quite problematic for the people coming in and out of this building. So those are just some of the better examples of the things going wrong. So what we're proposing here, and just to give you kind of orientate you to this is the existing survey that we performed. This is the north entrance here. This vestibule was built as part of 2002 work. It was added in, and this is that large concrete patio I was referencing. This is the ramp and the stairs. There's 3 handicap parking spaces over here that all kind of feed to that ramp, which really doesn't meet the spirit of the way the code wants you to do it, where people are supposed to be able to get out of their cars and get right onto an accessible route. Over here on the east entrance, we've got the doorway and stairs. and the ramp system. And this is where I was showing some of those breakouts along the walls. The other thing we've really noticed is that you've got these accessible spaces in this ramp, but there's no way to get from the spaces to the ramp. We've only got 2 flights of stairs. I will say out at Main Street, there is 1 handicap parking space, but it did dawn on us at some point, we really should try to improve that. And just for reference, this over here is like a utility shed and a standby generator. I think the 2 are connected, and that's to provide backup power for the building in case of loss of power. Moving on, this was our selective demolition plan, just to give you a sense. Again, we're not doing anything on the building, but we're proposing to jackhammer out that big, thick concrete slab. We're going to pull up some concrete pavers that are here and reuse those. We have to remove this section, this gray area of asphalt paving temporarily to do the work, and a little bit of regrading is necessary. All the yellow is concrete sidewalk removal, and these kind of lighter orangish salmon colored areas are staircases that are all going to have to get jackhammered out and rebuilt condition. This is the one I mentioned that the stairs I think are over 8 inches in height, which just doesn't meet code anymore. So we're going to have to redesign that to a 7-inch height riser. And then here is kind of our proposed plan. So you see the gray is the asphalt going back in. The 3 handicap spaces slide to the east, and that allows us to get onto a sidewalk so that we meet that sort of intent of being able to get out of your car directly onto an accessible route. We're providing, instead of just a big, large concrete pad, we're continuing the granite curbing that is out there, running it around this island, redoing the stairs. And instead of having a single stair, we're going to have a flight of 3 stairs, but a very low 4-inch riser, which is sort of on the low end of how high a set of stairs might be. But that'll give you kind of a proper entrance. Probably the most unique thing we're doing here to make up the grade here is we're proposing these 18-inch height kind of seat walls of stone with granite caps to kind of take up grade, so that as you get out of here, it angles up, and then it gets you up to the grade of the main entrance. And there's a flight of stairs here for a Desire Line connections out to the parking. I talked about the accessibility from the spaces down to the basement. What we've done is we've extended the walk out, down, and around the utility buildings and the generator to come down to this grade below here, which gives us a barrier-free connection from Main Street up to the parking, but it also gives us a barrier-free access down to the basement level. These stairs would just be rebuilt in place. This one would be rebuilt, but it has an additional tread and riser on it to bring it into conformance. And for durability, also for aesthetics, we're proposing that these 3 risers will be granite, not concrete. And that'll sort of match better with the wall. There's some cross sections we cut kind of showing that the parking is over here, and you can kind of see it sort of rises up under the inallowable slopes to get to the main doorway from the handicap parking. This is a cross section kind of at the entrance with those kind of walls that return on themselves. The stairs would be here, and we're resetting some of the planters out there kind of in those niches here, which is where we're also reusing some of those existing, they're sort of similar colored tan pavers to the building facade. We would put those in these little areas and then put some of those planter boxes in there for seasonal planting. And then finally, this is a cross section of that main entrance stairway, showing a little bit of the stone wall with the granite cap. You can see it over here as well. And those were largely necessary to take up some of the grade. Grading was quite challenging. Some of what they had done was very difficult to sort of modify, but we felt the need to modify it wasn't working very well. And then finally, materials. As I've mentioned, the curbing out there is granite, typical granite curbing, which holds up very well to our New England winters. The guards and rails are all this white painted aluminum, as is the case all around the building. All was done at the same time. We'll be looking to reuse some of these railings where we can, basically remove them and reset them once the repair work is done. In some places, we're going to discard some of them because we're either getting rid of where they're being used and they can't be reused, or we'll be adding new ones to, for like the new staircases, but they'll be made to match. The ramps and walks will be similar broom finish concrete, and the stairs for the most part will be concrete. But we are proposing, this is the best photo I could find from another project we had done, but there'll be the granite treads, but they won't have the granite cheek walls like this one has, because it'll be flanked by the stone of the seat walls. And the stone is not something we just made up. It is actually quite predominant out there. The whole elevation along Main Street has a wall. And it does turn up kind of this along the eastern edge of the building. So we thought pulling it around to the back entrance would actually kind of tie it all together a little bit. And I will say, based on what we've seen, I think the back of the building at one point was probably the playground space, and over the years, the parking got added as well as these entrance improvements. But this is a part we're trying to pull in, and we're trying to replicate to a certain degree that sort of rounded field stone, so it wouldn't be an angular stone. But that's the thinking. But we would be proposing a granite cap on it just because it holds up better to the weather. And I think we've got it spec'd just slightly thicker than what's shown in that picture, but I thought that was a pretty good representation. And then finally, as a add alternate to the project, and we haven't determined yet. We just bid the project actually, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to do, but we're kind of waiting to hear from you folks as well. We're proposing a timber guardrail, just a vehicle guardrail along here as a safety precaution, because this is a slope and vehicles could roll down it, so that's where that would go. And that's pretty much my presentation. So I'll turn it back to you all for questions and discussion.
Wow. Thank you. That's definitely the most comprehensive and detailed proposal we've gotten on a town property, certainly in my time on HDC. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Let's see. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners? I know there's a lot here.
Where's Tim?
Where's Tim? Tim's in Maine. But there's a lot here, but it's also so clearly spelled out and delineated. I feel like I should have a bunch of questions, but right now I don't yet. Anyone else share that position?
That's pretty much my take on it too.
Me too.
Blinded by science.
Yeah, I was.
The aesthetic question was, should the guardrails be white or should they be gray or should they be white?
Yeah, I could only come up with the guardrails, and then oh wait, I did have one question, and you probably answered this. The stone wall that you showed near the end.
Yes.
One was capped, with
with a granite, yeah.
Yeah, and then one is not. Which is which?
So the one on the left is
existing.
Of the existing wall, yeah, and you can see it's quite dirty. It's got got lichen on it, you know how walls get, they just.
Well, we're historic preservation. We don't have a problem with dirty and lichen.
Yeah, so it's been there a long time. The one on the right I was looking for kind of a more rounded type of a stone wall, and I thought that was a pretty close approximation of it.
Mhm.
And it does have a granite or a slate, I can't quite tell, but we are proposing a granite cap on it, partly because it can be used as a seat wall
True.
for people sitting outside. And it also just, the problem with a wall like this is it constantly gets watered down into the joints. So what happens over time is the mortar starts to fail on the top layer, and it sort of works its way down. So that's why we would propose that. And I guess I would say, in terms of all the things we're doing, the only thing we're doing that's not really just kind of a repair is the addition of the stone wall with the granite cap. Everything, and probably the granite treads. Everything else is pretty much a repair in kind of the materials that are out there. And I pulled up this picture again because in terms of the white rails, they're not really my choice, but I would say that the entire building has them. So if we changed it, it would be different from what is used on the rest of the building. And I'll kind of go back to the front to just sort of, you can see them here at the front, some of the white rails, but you can also see here the across the front, this is all that stone wall. So historically, that was part of the building design.
You're not changing that there. You're just
we're not touching any of this.
You're not touching it. It's just you're adding later. So I didn't realize that the granite cap actually served a kind of preservative function as well with water.
Yeah.
Our concern with stone walls is that they not look too neat. There's got to be a better way to say that, and anyone is welcome to interject. But since stone walls are in this area, back in the day, usually were built out of rubble. You were clearing your fields, you came up a bunch of stones, you sort of piled them up.
Yeah.
So we do it. So we just don't encourage them to be too
pristine and too pretty.
Yeah, too stylized.
Yeah. But it is, if I may, it is a question of context, and this is a different situation than
But there's a look sometimes that's too
yeah.
No,
saw cut veneer stone doesn't cut it, even Spanish.
Even Spanish eclectic. Yeah, so that's all. Saying that for the record.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that comment. I feel the same way on a lot of projects that I look to the more of the rubble wall, the fieldstone kind of a wall, the non-mortared look. And here, I think it's because of the context of what we've got in place that it might look odd to change it up.
I'm not saying like put a rubble wall here, but just more natural-ish is but that's, for me, that's the only question I had about was the wall and the cap. And the cap makes sense too, as you said, to provide additional seating or perching or whatever. I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have any questions or details they'd like to revisit?
No.
All right. There could be public comment on this one. So I'll turn it over to anyone who is still in the audience with any questions, with any hands raised. I missed a hand the last time. I don't see any this time. All right, I'll bring it back to the commission. And if there are no objections or queries or anything, we could bring this to a motion.
All right, I'll move that we approve as submitted the plans for the Spanish Eclectic 1276 Main Street restoration.
I second.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Bill. That's great. Melinda, your vote? Thank you. Walter?
Aye.
Louis?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So, Mr. Hedrick, thank you very much. And I appreciate also learning a little history about the building, which that I didn't know.
Can I just ask a quick question? When are you planning to start this? And approximately how long do you expect this to take?
We are, we just received bids like last week, some favorable bids. So we have to make a recommendation and then get the contractor under contract, which probably take about a month, I would guess. But then we're estimating, I think, about a 3-month time frame. So I think the intent is to have the work done this year. Because certainly with that basement exit closed, they really want to get it open. So
Well, that needs
Yeah. It's true,
Yeah.
more than I thought, more than I realized once I looked at those pictures.
A lot of concrete.
It's,
to go.
And to
Yeah.
demolish, not a demo.
since the first time I was asked to look at it, which was a couple of years ago, it's gotten much worse actually. So.
Wow. All right, well, great. Well, thank you very much again.
Nice
for the
job. Thank
Great
you.
presentation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
John.
you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, great.
Have a nice night.
Thanks a lot. Good night, you too. That is our last application. And we just have 2 sets of minutes to enter into the record. And I did not review one of them. Now, which one was it? I don't remember. Walter?
I will say, as secretary, I read through both of them, had only one very minor pagination change, and I would recommend that we approve the minutes as they stand.
Thank you. Second to approve the minutes.
Second.
Bill, we'll just do it. All in favor of approving the
Aye.
minutes?
Aye. Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. And that is it. 10:01:01 according to my clock. So thank you very much for attending tonight, even after seeing that impressive docket of material. And thank you for not fleeing. And
thank you, Kate, for your skillful
chairship.
I don't know about that, but thanks. So
Have a good night.
but we have a motion to end the meeting. Bill?
I'll move, but we end the meeting at 12:03.
10:03. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Bye.
Good night,
Okay.
everyone.